Hey.
Moving closer into the frame.
Okay. Voila. So, hi again to everyone. My name is Rok Zalokar. I'm an IFMGA guide at Vertical Adventures Slovenia, and you're watching a safety talk of Alpine Classrom. Today we're gonna focus on avalanche safety topic on a beacon, and my guest is Jernej Burkeljca. Yeah, you can just tell your background, Jernej.
Long story short, I used to research avalanches. Now I'm doing some other things, but so let's call myself a freelance avalanche researcher or
Yeah, nice.
enthusiast.
So with Jernej, we met on the snow a few years ago, and yeah, here and there we share our thoughts, you know, because it's always, I think it's really good that you get other opinion on this topic, just maybe to open your perspective and also to see how somebody else looks the same theme through his eyes. Yeah. So let's just start today. We just came from filming today on our Vogo resort for the future episodes. So yeah, we just brushed from the harsh weather and the mountains. But yeah, we said we're gonna focus on beacon today. So let's just start on the basics. You're gonna see in the video a bit more into the details what you need to be aware of just from the step when you buy a beacon and how to use it. But I'm gonna just tell a few of my preferences that I have, how to wear it and how to have it in sand search mode and what are the benefits of different configurations. Yeah, so personally, I really like to have beacon here on my body. Yeah. Here, this is the place where I can really keep it in the same place through the whole day. It doesn't move around. If you get caught in an avalanche, you know, this is the place where it's gonna stay firmly in position. So the other places that you can have a beacon, you can have it in designated pockets on your pants, and it never should be a cargo pocket like this, because it can be ripped off your pants. So just make sure that it's no snag point, that it's nice, clean design, so that's gonna be firmly inside the pocket, that it has a separate pocket inside the pocket that's gonna keep your beacon there in place. So what are the benefits of one and the other configuration? So if you're gonna keep it here, as I said, it's gonna stay firmly in position. It's not gonna move around if you get caught in an avalanche, because in avalanche there are brutal forces, and that's why we always gonna keep it under one layer of clothing, like that it's not exposed on the outside, that it's not ripped off. And if it's here, it stays warm because it's closer to your body, so it expands the lifetime of the battery, and it's not exposed to be mechanically damaged as it's when it's in the pocket. And the biggest benefit, in my opinion, one of the biggest benefits is that it's located closer to your airways. So when you're going to be pinpointed, when somebody's going to probe you, he's going to probe you somewhere around this radius, you know, around the beacon, so that's located closer to your airways. If you're going to have beacon in your pockets, as I said, it's going to be more exposed to mechanical damage. In case you get avalanche, you know, sometimes you're going to have chunks of ice, chunks of hard snow. You can be avalanched into trees, over the rocks. It can be damaged there, and also, you know, it moves around. Because if you have it here in the leg pocket, you know, it can be smashed in an avalanche, and we're going to come to that later on, but it can come closer to the other devices that you have that day on the tour. And as I said before, you know, it's located further away from your airways, so that's gonna extend during the rescue process, that's going to extend the rescue time. And 15 minutes, that's 15 to 18 minutes, that's crucial time that you need to get somebody out from the avalanche, and every minute counts here. And yeah, so people say that that the benefit is that you're gonna have your beacon when you're gonna have it in designated pocket in your trousers, you're gonna get it out faster. So that's gonna be the only plus. And the downside of having beacon here is that it's prone to injure your ribs. When you hit something, it can injure your ribs. So that's what I see, especially with the athletes. They're gonna, in most cases, decide to have beacon in the pocket. But if you're more exposed, to be avalanche, you ski more exposed terrain to get the shots. And yeah, I wouldn't recommend that you would have a beacon here in the designated leg pocket. So let's see also what causes the problem that we have with the beacon. So it's a sensitive electronic device. The 457 kilohertz signal is imitated by electromagnetic pulse. And so we need to keep like all the things that we have from the metal, our phone, shovel, our watch, our power, like power bars, snacks that are wrapped in aluminum, folium, everything what's made from magnets, metal, and electronic devices. In sand mode, they need to be at least 20 centimeters away. It's because that interference that's gonna cause the problem with the beacon, because the signal that transmits, it's gonna be weaker. And somebody that's gonna be searching you through the avalanche debris with his beacon, maybe he's gonna use his maximum range, maybe he's not gonna see the beacon signal, and we come to a lot of complications. So then when you're gonna be in search mode, the beacon is even more sensitive, so you're gonna have, everybody has a phone, on the tour, and the phone, even when it's in flight mode, it causes a lot of interference. Like the biggest problem is the screen on the phone, and because it's not just the device that's gonna be there like it was 10 years ago to communicate. It's like a really powerful, like a small computer that creates a lot of noise, and when you're gonna be in search mode, the beacon is really sensitive to get a specific signal, and all the other devices that we described are gonna cause a lot of noise around, and that's gonna reduce your range. Yeah, and that's again, the big problem. So we need to be really careful with that. And as I said before, that's a fact. We all have our phone on the tour. We have our smartwatches. So when you're going to be in search mode, always make sure that you grab your beacon with the other hand, where you have your smartwatch, for example. And the right, also in sand mode, all the interference, even if you're going to have a phone in the pocket here and the beacon here on the chest, if you get smashed in an avalanche, they can come together. So my personal rule is, it's really simple to have a phone and other electronic devices. For example, when I guide like heli skiing, I'm going to have radio, I'm going to have iridium communication device, and that's what I always keep on the body. So I really like to keep the beacon here on the side, it's really far away, and I want to have a chest harness here on this side, and that it's both, they're firmly in position, so they cannot come, in any case, come together, because that's really crucial. Every destruction that it's caused during the search, first extends our time and creates a panic, and that's for sure not a positive thing. what I think.
Exactly. I mean, the problem with it's not just interference; it's ghost signals, because you might have indicate several victims when there's only one, or it might have might only be showing one when there's more. There's all sorts of complications that come out of other electronic devices and metallic things that you're wearing.
Yeah, that's.
But just coming back to the pants versus chest carrying, there is one case where you actually have to put it in a pocket, and if you're really hot, when you're not wearing a jacket, when you only have just base layer, then you don't really have a choice other than put it in a pocket.
Yeah. Also, when you have a pacemaker.
Or a pacemaker, or the whatever they call the smartwatch sensors for heart rate and things like that.
Yeah.
It can be right next to each other, right next to the beacon.
So that's going to be the time when you're going to put it in the designated pocket in your trousers. And
possibly attach it with a lanyard to a belt or whatever. That it doesn't get pulled out.
That's another thing. Always when you're going to get it from the outside from the pants, you need to put a strap around your wrist that it's going to be secured in your hand, because that's your lifeline. In case of a secondary avalanche, this is the thing that's going to save your life, for sure. And in details, please just check at the end, please just check our third video, and everything what we talked about now, it's going to be explained there a little bit more into details. Yeah. And now let's come to the second part of our talk. Maybe we focus now, because it's already more than 10 minutes, on, let's say, 3 avalanche accidents that we would like to talk about.
Yeah, when we were discussing what to talk about, there were 3 themes, scenarios that I keep noticing in avalanche videos. And the first one is this sort of misconception that only crazy people get into avalanches. Crazy people meaning those who actually go ski and then climb mountains in winter. It's not really true, because there are cases when just 2 weeks ago there were 2 cases that I want to highlight, and one was a family out walking just outside of Val d'Isère, one normal road in a mountain village, and they got caught into an avalanche by pure bad luck. 3 of them were fine, they had minor injuries, but the father was under the snow for, I think it was more than 2.5 hours, which, as you mentioned, is a total miracle. After 15 minutes, your chances are very low. After 90 minutes, they might as well be 0. And to find him alive after 2.5 hours is just unbelievable.
So we never want to give up.
Yeah, exactly.
We try our best just to get people out.
And the second case of just everyone getting into contact with avalanches was the same. I think it was actually the same day or the next day. One boy in, I think it was in California, was playing outside. His parents noticed that he's not back for dinner, and then went out searching for him and found that there was a roof avalanche that fell on him. And again, no one knows how long he was under, but it might have been several hours, and he was also alive, which, again, it doesn't happen, and it's, I guess, a nightmare scenarios for parents, but it's something you have to, kids playing outside in ski resorts is something that would be right now would be normal in any other year, but I guess it's a little bit less. But yeah, it's something for a parent to think about, and for the child to be aware also that something might fall off the roof of a chalet. For sure,
it's an overhead hazard.
Exactly. Second scenario or case that's also, well, not also, but it's getting very common the past couple of years, is multiple involvements, avalanches with multiple people either buried or searching, which is, in both cases, it's not a good scenario in any case. We've all been there. You're skiing in a resort, there's an avalanche just outside of an open ski run. There's a bunch of people, 10, 20 maybe, getting caught into an avalanche. There are several cases with videos like that. The problem is you don't know who's there. You don't know. You might know 1 or 2 people who are your friends who are skiing with, but it's really hard to know who's missing. You don't know who there. You don't know. You can't count who was there, who wasn't there, since you don't know anyone. And then from the opposite perspective, I guess you have multiple searches, people just showing up, trying to help, but more often than not, they're not really helping that much. because
they create a mess.
They create a mess. It's uncoordinated chaos, and someone searching here, someone probing with their ski pole there, someone shouting, "I found something," and then everyone runs there, and okay, it's I don't know, a tree branch or something. And everyone just forgets where they were looking earlier, and it's an uncoordinated mess, and you need someone to take charge. So I guess to the viewers, if you see a scene like that, and you see there's something not quite right, please take charge, I guess. Remind everyone to turn the beacons to search mode or off, to form a probe line if you know that there are people who are not wearing Avalanche beacons or whatever. But someone needs to be in charge and to coordinate. You call the ski patrol, you search, you assemble the probe, whatever needs to be done. Someone has to be in charge to at least control the chaos a little bit.
Yeah, so here, just to interrupt you, Jernej, that's what we described in the second video a little bit. So we call that guy observer, but he also has the role of a policeman. So he needs to stop people. Nobody should cross, him without showing him beacon, to have in search mode, and that he knows what he's doing.
And there are a whole lot of videos of showing people chaos like that, of multiple searchers. I remember one was presented at the ISSW in Innsbruck, in Andorra. There was one person buried in a very small area, like 15, 20 square meters or whatever, and 30 people looking for him. And it took them more than 20 minutes, and it would only take 5 for one person to find him, if they knew what they were doing. But everyone was just like total chaos until the ski patrollers came in. And waiting 20 minutes for the ski patrol, you're almost dead by then.
So that's also what we mentioned in the second video. I think really the fourth element of avalanche safety equipment is knowledge. Because if you don't have that, your equipment won't be that useful. And
it's nice that you want to help, but sometimes it's not really helpful.
You have to know what you're doing. So
exactly.
Attend the workshop. Make sure that you go to a really that you know where you go to a workshop, because especially if you're a skier, you're gonna get the knowledge that's needed for a skier. For example.
And the third case was a slightly more advanced topic, I guess. It's about trip planning apps, there's a lot of them. More specifically, the problem with them is the slope gradient indication. Okay, there are two separate problems there. One is the data, what the data they're presenting, and one is how they present the data. So the first problem is, you have to go slightly into the background of this, is a digital elevation model. If you use Google Earth or Google Maps terrain view, you know what it is. It's a 3D representation of the terrain. The problem with that is that the resolution of the terrain, how accurate the terrain is.
So it's not precise.
Yeah. And the problem is with these apps is that you don't know how accurate that terrain is. You don't know what the model is used. So you might have only 100-meter resolution. I mean, you can have a couple centimeter resolution if you're using LiDAR, but that's not in any app. But more commonly, there are 30, 10, 20, 50-meter resolution models used in those apps. And what happens if you have, let's say you have a 100-meter resolution terrain model and you're calculating slope angle from 2 points that are 100 meters apart. You might have a flat terrain and then a 20-meter cliff, and then again flat. It's only a 20-meter slope. I mean, the app might show you a nice gradient, or it might be a cliff. It doesn't show that. It averages the whole slope between 2 points. And none of the apps that I've seen tell you what kind of model is used. And that was the major contributing factor in one accident in Colorado when there was a group of people on an advanced avalanche course. So these were not beginners. These were people with some experience on an advanced course who got into an accident. And I think there was 1 or 2 deaths because of that, because they were relying on the app too much. They were looking, okay, that slope, whatever that we're going to take is, I don't know, whatever, 30 degrees. But in reality, it was closer to 35 because there was some small feature there that where they triggered the avalanche and someone got carried and died. The app does not show you everything. You cannot rely on it entirely. And the second problem is how you display those those gradients. Most apps that I've seen show you yellow for 30 to 35, orange for 35 to 40, and then over 40 it's usually displayed in red. Usually. Again, some apps don't even show you what they're showing. Some have a nice legend with all the colors explained. Some have distinct layers, some have gradients. So you might be looking at the same terrain, but very different outputs of how they present that terrain. But then now the problem is here that some apps are, let's call them low gradient biased. For example, Caltopo, I think starts with 27 degrees. So yellow would be 27 to 30 something. Yeah. And some other app might start from 30. You might say 33 degrees, that's not.
But that's not the case.
Yeah, it's not the case. I mean, yeah, the likelihood of an avalanche happening on 27 degrees versus 30 is lower, but it's not safe. You know?
Yeah.
And then other ones, like FatMap, are high biased. They only show red way over 40 already.
Yes,
it's how you present data, and it's not entirely clear sometimes. So you have to really know what you're looking at when you're looking at those apps.
Yeah. So that's what we always say, you know, you have to take your decisions when you are on the field, just regarding to what you see. And one thing that I read from Xavier Delarue last week was, you know, snow always proves you wrong. So that's the medium in the nature that always changes from hour to hour. And today we were on the field and we could see a lot of like propagations of the slab avalanches, but they're gonna cure probably in the next days. But you have to wait and, you know, just play by the rules. So now I think it's time for some questions. Do we have any questions?
No questions yet.
No questions yet.
No. Nobody's watching today. Yeah. So
we have some questions.
So how many viewers? 118.
Yeah. 3 comments.
Cheers to everyone. Yeah. So you know, always when you're gonna be on the field, really look for the signs. That's what I would say. A good part of our preparation starts at home. You know, study the weather, study the avalanche bulletin, and then
study the terrain.
Yeah, study the terrain, because then the terrain and conditions, that's what's gonna
dictate whatever you do.
Yeah, whatever you decide where you're there. And you know, sometimes the only possible way is to go on another tour. If you're in some kind of feature that's like a terrain trap or something, and you cannot choose any other path, you know, you have to
turn around.
That's for sure.
Happens more often than you can.
And that's always the right decision.
Yeah.
You know, to turn around.
You'll be regretting not skiing something, but you'll also be not regretting getting caught in an avalanche.
Yep. So also one thing that you know, I would like to mention, this season in the Central Alps we have a persistent weak layer, you know, in the snowpack, which is together with the slab avalanches. I think it creates like first the most accidents, and when you have a persistent weak layer, it's something that a lot of times you're gonna know it's there, but for like extended periods in a certain place, it's not gonna be reactive.
Yeah.
And then it can happen, you know, in one day, and it's reactive. And we just, when we have that kind of danger, we just need to be, I think, honest to ourselves, you know. That's
hyper aware of the situation.
Yeah.
There was a couple of photos from last week. There was one that just stands out immediately with a Gazex exploder, and then
in Austria.
And then a huge slab. I think it was like 3-4 meters deep, that didn't react when they were trying to trigger it with the Gazex. This is a huge cannon that makes a big shockwave. It didn't trigger when they were doing that. It triggered 20 hours later when I think it was someone walking on a ridge triggered it.
Yeah.
It's a total disconnect, but that's what happens with persistent layers. Yeah.
So it's in that case, probably it was triggered in a place where it was really shallow.
Yeah.
So that's what you can affect with your body weight. But the thing is, the propagation is going to go into the places you know, because the terrain can vary from there, and sometimes we see the crowns that are few meters high, and you know, then if you end up in an avalanche like that, that's a game over for sure.
And it's one thing that's very confusing for people is how can you trigger an avalanche from flat terrain? And
Yeah.
again, like, there was one very clear video a few weeks ago of someone skiing a very nice little bowl, and then he was already on the flat, and then the avalanche triggered behind him. He's like, how do you trigger it from a flat terrain? Well, because that slab, that weak layer, starts from the top of the slope to the bottom or whatever, and when you trigger it in the weak spot, it will propagate everywhere.
Yeah.
He was lucky. He was very lucky, but a lot of people are not.
So yeah, we have the current situation now for here in Slovenia. It's that we got quite a lot of snow. The thing was, it was in between. It was raining really high up, the elevation up almost to 2,000 meters, and then you know it was shifting from snowing to rain, and the general wind at that time was from the south. Now the cold is coming, and we have the wind from the east north, and that's gonna create quite an
And if the cold persists for a long time, we have
Yeah.
more persistent layers in the
yeah. So one like a golden rule of when you choose something, you know, to ski in these kind of conditions, always start really with gentle terrain, that it doesn't have a lot of exposure. So that means that you're on the smaller slopes, and I would stay, especially to start the day, under the 30 degrees, you know. And when you ski like features that are terrain traps like couloirs, try to stay on the thickest place. So that's the bottom of the couloir, you know. Try not to do turns like this
on the side,
on the sides where the layers are weaker. That's
close to rocks, protruding,
Yeah,
close
especially.
to trees, whatever.
Those are the places where you can trigger an avalanche, or you stay on a high ground.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the place where
That's
the
even
avalanche. Yeah, the avalanche will go away. So, but we cannot choose. You know, when we are on a certain tour, that we're gonna stay on a high ground if there's not. And one golden rule is also to always travel one at a time over the terrain that it's more than 30 degrees in the north. You know, that's what you can do the whole year around to avoid the
It's a simple safety measure. Yeah.
Werner Munter's golden triangle. You know, less traveled places that are not trekked out, and with the more than 30 degrees, and in the north when we know what's the process with the stabilization of the snow.
So do we have any questions?
Doing.
Yeah. What are the signs or red flags for danger?
Yeah.
Well, there are several of them. Well, let's start with rapid warming or rain, which will make the snowpack softer or wetter. That's one danger sign. So it will rapidly decompose the bonds between the grains.
Weakens the.
So it weakens the snowpack.
And we have the wind.
The wind, yeah.
Yeah. It's
High wind transporting snow into lee areas will deposit a large amount of snow from one end to another.
and create slabs.
Yeah, create slabs.
And when we have fresh snowfall,
fresh
that's-
snowfall again. Yeah.
it's again a big red flag. Then when we are on the field, you know, if you walk over the field and you hear woofing sounds, it's something going on.
And the most obvious, obviously, are existing or
Fresh.
avalanches that are happening right now or have happened. Just you can see the recent avalanches.
Yeah.
So that's the most obvious. You know it's avalanche.
So yeah, and when you stress the slope that you want to walk up or ski down, you know, always get information. And when you see any kind of weakness, cracks, woofing sounds,
Yeah.
anything moving, just make another plan, avoid that terrain, and that's it. And now
Cracks are scary.
I think we are on time for our premiere. So
Just one more question.
One more question.
yeah,
Fraser is saying that human factors can be impossible to control sometimes. Do you have any tips for managing uncooperative individuals in your touring group?
Eliminate them from your touring group.
yeah.
I mean,
Choose your friends wisely.
Yeah, choose your friends wisely. That's. It is hard. I mean, especially if someone you've been friends with forever, or even a relative or something. That's
Red
even
card.
worse. Yeah, it's hard to say no to someone, but choosing your ski partners wisely is the first step to do it. And then just the second one, I guess, is communication. Just talk constantly. Talk to each other. What are you thinking? Why do you feel good about it, or you don't feel good about it? A lot of times people just stay quiet because of because they feel less informed, or because
less
someone
experience.
less experience.
That's in my case when I'm guiding.
Yeah, people just stay quiet because you're the guide.
Yeah.
We'll trust you, but no, just speak up.
We're humans.
I don't feel good about this slope. I don't feel good about the weather or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just talk to each other all the time. Don't just assume that everyone knows what's going on. You ski from here to there, wait there, whatever. Communicate. That's why radios are a great thing. I will always pretty much wear a radio.
Cool. Yeah, now I think our premiere really started, so we have to run to our YouTube channel, to Alpine Classroom. Please subscribe to our channel, and we're gonna be happy that you have an